So I learned about the Vagrant at almost the same time that I learned about the Hex. My pal Will was playing it on his laptop, and I thought it looked pretty damn sweet. So when it went on sale for a low price of $2 in a sale, I bought it up quick. I just recently got around to playing it, and although it has its ups and downs, I can say it's a really fun game. The story is such. You play as Vivian, a rune warden. She's on a journey to find her father, which turns into an adventure she probably wasn't expecting. It's rife with evil wizards, boobs, love, boobs, a confused young scholar, boobs, loss of hostile creatures, boobs, and towering bosses. Did I mention the boobs? Okay, let's get the obvious out of the way. The creators of the Vagrant are obviously huge fans of the female's chest region, because every human NPC in the game is, shall we say, extremely perky. No, you never see any bare breasts, but I'm sure you sickos out there are already imagining it. But that begs the question, why bother wearing armor if you're just going to run around half naked? It just doesn't make any sense, because by wearing a simple string like that, you're not protecting any vital areas. Oh well, game logic I suppose. The Vagrant is a simple 2D action game where Vivian runs through multiple stages and kills any enemy that runs into her path. Her weapon of choice is a sword, although you can obtain new ones via shops and enemy drops as you go through the game. When it comes to attacks, you have two main ones, a quick swipe and a more powerful but slower slash. Just like many others of these types of games, you'll probably be using the quicker attack more frequently, but you can chain together slashes with rapid button presses. More combos will be found as you play and upgrade Vivian, but even from the start, your basic 3-hit attack will suffice. Combat is occasionally forced on you. Not only are the expected bosses found at times, but occasionally the screen will lock in place and enemies will spawn in. At these points, you're forced into battle and will need to defeat everything in order to continue. Usually, it's not challenging and takes maybe 15 seconds to clear, but it can eliminate any sort of momentum that the game had. There were also times where you may have cleared one of these forced encounters, moved ahead, accidentally backstepped, and got forced back into another battle. It doesn't happen often, but it can be a minor inconvenience. When defeating enemies, you might see a bunch of items drop. There are coins, which are clearly the currency of the game. Various foodstuffs may hit the ground. Some of them are used in crafting recipes, and others give you an immediate health benefit. Finally, you'll see small crystals drop. These are considered mana crystals, and no, it's not magic that these deal with, but instead, they are considered your experience points. You'll use mana you collect to upgrade Vivian's skills. There is a fairly large skill tree that you'll be able to navigate in order to customize Vivian to your liking. Want to increase your defense or attack? Go for it. Want to focus on your special attack skills? Why not? One thing you do need to keep in mind is that certain areas of the skill tree are locked until you find a specific item. These items are usually found in rooms that have branched off from the direct path to your next objective. Speaking of, the levels of the game can be kind of confusing to navigate. Areas aren't simply left to right, and sometimes you'll need to go up through doorways. I found myself constantly checking the map in order to figure out where I was at so I didn't get completely lost. Plus, this was the best way for me to figure out where I should explore next to find any items that I would need to further upgrade Vivian. The main enemies of the game aren't too difficult. Just smash the light attacks, and you'll probably be fine. That changes in the late game areas, but by then you'll probably have enough power behind you that you'll probably still be fine. But the bosses? They're a whole nother story. They are usually large monstrosities that have no problem dealing massive damage. They'll oftentimes have multiple life bars, and it can be a battle of attrition to fight them. As difficult as they can be, they are still fun to partake in though, as it's a nice change of pace to the relatively easy battles prior. The issue I have with these battles is that if you fall, you'll have to go through any plot scenes that have been presented between the checkpoint and the boss battle itself. One of the other weird things about these boss battles is that, for as difficult as they can be and the amount of effort you may need to apply to defeat them, they don't drop any loot. No gold, no XP, no health. It just feels like a strange design choice. Sure, the reward is the ability to progress the story further, but that's not satisfying enough. When you defeat a hard boss, you want a prize, whether it be a large amount of coin, XP boost, or a nice shiny piece of, well, she doesn't wear armor, so a weapon or something. So there's two different types of save points in the game. One is a stone tablet that pops out of the ground, and this allows you to fast travel to any other found tablets. The other save point is a campfire. Most campsites are going to have some sort of narration between Vivian and a character she's traveling with, but there's another benefit with them. Cooking. Creating food at these campfires gives you two benefits. One is that it fills up your HP to maximum, which is always a plus when getting ready to go up against a boss. The other is that each recipe gives you assorted buffs to further help out in combat. Each recipe gives you a different set of bonuses, and only one set of buffs can be applied at a time, so you can't devour multiple choices of food like a fat ass to make yourself overpowered. Besides, eating all that food will probably just go right to her boobs. In order to craft these recipes, you'll need to collect ingredients. They are both found in the wild and also can be bought by vendors. I never ran into a situation where I ran out of ingredients, but that's also because I rarely ever used the recipes unless I was stuck. Oh, and these recipes don't expire, so if you eat something, that buff is applied until you eat something else to replace it. Speaking of vendors, there's a healthy amount of them, and most are willing to assist you for the right amount of money. You can sell stuff to any vendor, but each only specializes in one area of wares, whether it be armor, weapons, food, potions, etc. And if you try to leave without buying or selling anything, they will mock you, typically as being cheap. It's kind of funny, but also makes you feel a little guilty for being stingy with your hard-earned spoils. I found out about midway through the game that buying gear isn't really worth it. You'll find plenty of weapons and armor, and yes, to be serious, you can actually wear armor, although it's never actually shown on Vivian's character. Equipment can also be upgraded with your mana. There are two options, Enhance and Enchant. Enchanting allows you to place beneficial runes in the gear, if there's an available slot. Enhancing allows you to upgrade the base stats of the weapon, up to a level of 5. By upgrading your gear, you might also find some additional benefits to the gear, such as increased max HP, extra elemental damage, and so on. You can eventually also destroy any unneeded gear to get extra mana. The strange thing is that this is found extremely late in the game, as in maybe a half hour to an hour before the final boss. I feel like this should have been introduced if not from the start of the game, at least maybe midway through. Just doesn't make sense to me of where they introduced it. Before I get into my minor gripes, I want to speak about the graphics. They're simply gorgeous. I was going to talk about this at the start of the review, but I got sidetracked. Everything has a hand-drawn look to them, and the locations are varied enough to entice you to keep playing. Beautiful forest, the starting stormy ship battle, the icy caverns. So sweet to look at. The music fits the mood perfectly too. Well, except for maybe Magnus's lab area. It's a dance beat which to me just feels a little out of place. But everything else is just great to listen to. The boss themes are even better as they are metal songs that really pump up the adrenaline levels. Freaking awesome stuff. And even songs I would consider listening to outside of the game. So I gotta talk about some of the few quirks with the game. For one, you can tell English isn't the primary language of the game, as there are a few typos found in the game. Antidotes are listed as antitodes. At the ice village, you're told that you are blocked by thick no, and yes, I know it meant snow. I'm not going to fault the developers too much with this, because I know not everybody who creates games speak English. Hell, I can barely speak it, but I still want to mention it. Another oddity was a few graphical glitches that occurred. These started in the ice fields, and I thought maybe my video card needed an updated driver. Well, that didn't really solve it. It's not something I saw a lot, but still wanted to mention. Also, after the worm boss, the movement for Vivian got really glitchy. She became twitchy and could not jump well. I had to restart the game to fix this, but again, wanted to pitch this out there. And that's about it for the Vagrant. It's an amazing action platformer with a healthy mix of jumping, fighting, and exploring. It's not a terribly long game, easily completable in a weekend, but it's a worthy addition to your library. And for the price, which I think at the time of this ranking is $5, you really can't go wrong. Final score? 6 out of 7. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.